I was in the band, bitch.
Love is a way of building to a crescendo. Ride if you will, ride it with me.
I'm gonna try my new Jimmy Buffett intro. See if it gets copyrighted. Because there was a point where I was doing that intro, and it may have been a little different, but I was doing that intro and it didn't get caught by the copyright because of the way I edited it. Because the copyright, the audio looks for specific points to read, you know, and I think I had a sweet spot there, so I've got it re-edited, so maybe it's a little bit more vague, and the algorithm can't grab the pieces and put it together that's a copyrighted song, which, yes, is screwing the system over that decided to screw me over. To hell with them. Jimmy got all my money. I bought a bunch of albums from him. I went to a concert or 3. He's got my money. I've paid for the use of this song to be used for, you know, no monetary gain. You know, it's not hurting anybody. Right? Yes, you are correct. I know, buddy. Somebody, and I won't name names, had an accident on the comforter this morning, so we're washing the comforter. I won't name any names. Yeah. Whatever. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's not like I'm going to yell at him or hurt him or tell him how bad he is, because he doesn't understand any of that. And I'm certainly not going to yell at him because I don't want him to be scared, because that's silly. Yelling at animals does nothing but make you feel better for 5 seconds, and then you turn around right afterwards, especially if you love your animals. If you love your animals, it's 5 seconds of feeling better, and then several hours of being very upset with yourself, you know? 27 grams. So, I mean, it's just something to think about, you know? If you love your animals. If you don't love your animals, then it doesn't matter anyway. I mean, I don't know why you would own an animal if you didn't want to love it and take care of it, so. And I love and take care of my cats, so it's the one thing I got going for me. Well, I've got a lot of things. I've got a lot of things going for me, but right now it's just the one thing that consistently, at the end of the day, makes me feel better. So, really don't have anything to talk about today. I guess maybe. Since starting on the Ozempic and exercising, I have gone from, I've been a steady 246, between 245 and 247 for maybe 8-9 months. I've been able to maintain that because I've not been eating a ton, and periodically I would work out, and, I would, instead of going to get something to eat, from the cupboard, I would, just maybe get like a protein shake to drink to try to curtail the hunger. Well, because I'm taking this Ozempic for my blood sugar, I think I've told you that the blood sugar has gone down from like 7.8 in August. It was August. 7.8 in August to 6.1 this past visit in the beginning of October. 6.1. 7.8 to 6.1. That's a lot. That's a lot in a very small amount of time. It's definitely helped with regards to physical health. And I've gone from 246 now down to 230. Very soon, hopefully, I'll see sub 230. I've not been in the 220s in any form for, at least 16 years, 17 years maybe. It's been a very long time. I know when I met Matt back in 2003, I was around 218. And that was thanks to a trim spa and ephedra. the now banned ephedra, because parents were feeding it to their sports children, and the sports children were having heart attacks at 13, 14, 15 years old because parents were feeding it to their kids. You know, that's what they do. It amazes you when you look at the news how many parents are just in it for themselves, you know? And it goes back to, why am I yelling at the cat? I can't hurt the cat's feelings. I can only make it scared of me. And then, you know, maybe 5-6 seconds of me feeling a little bit better do not equal the next 3 or 4 hours where I feel completely awful for saying such terrible things, you know? And it's just that kind of a psychology that it just seems like a lot of parents lack. You know, they don't get, you know, if your kid can't, you know, run nearly as fast as someone else, that doesn't mean that they can't play baseball. It just means that they can't run as fast as somebody else. And pumping them full of drugs isn't going to help that. More often than not, it's going to kill them. You know, out there in the middle of the field, they work up a heart attack. I mean, how many times did that happen? You know, before they banned ephedra, maybe 3 or 4 times. And that's all that it took, by the way. That's all that it took. It's just like that one guy who tried to light his shoe on fire. You know, one guy over 20 years ago is the exact reason why we have to take our shoes off to this day if you don't have TSA pre-check. We have to take our shoes off because one person decided they were going to try. And for some odd reason, in the past 20 years, they have not invented a way to look at our shoes while we're walking through one of those gates. You know? Because there's no reason to innovate that. There's no reason to put forth the effort. I mean, because, you know, it's not the TSA people, it's not the people doing their jobs that need to take off their shoes. It's the folks under, 60 that have to? You know, it's just all of those things. All of those things. We have to take electronics out of our bags. Why? Because of something that happened 20 years ago. You know, they've not innovated anything. Nothing has changed with scanner technology, apparently, to where they can see shit. Somebody accidentally brings a pair of pliers with them. Those pair of pliers, you know, you can't have those. Well, am I going to take the plane apart? Am I going to actually threaten somebody with a pair of pliers? No, I just think that they overreach. And then they have, there's no indication that they're innovating in any way to make it better for everybody else, because that's just not something they care about. The end goal is this assembly line of most of the time, very angry people yelling at you because, you know, you've walked through and you've left your belt on. You know, you can't tell that I'm wearing a belt. All you know is that now there's metal on my body, and now I got to take my belt off because I forgot to take my belt off. And it's not like it's not happened every day 100 times. You know, now apparently the wound is so fresh, you've got to yell at the person who made a mistake. That's happened to Matt's dad several times, and I guess it happened again on their way back from Arizona. He's back. He went to Arizona to see his brother. He's back now, but this was the flight out to Oregano to see the OSU Oregon football game. He had stuff in his pockets, a couple of things, and then he had a full water bottle in his bag that he didn't realize he had. So he had to get rid of the water bottle. It was plastic, so it was just a full plastic water bottle, and then he had to pull stuff, and it's just so odd to me that they, after 20 years of a threat that has not been duplicated or attempted to be duplicated in the past 20 years, it's just interesting to me that we're not innovating and updating and changing how any of that stuff works, because it's not profitable. They can't make money off of that. That's a money bleeding situation. The TSA seems like very much a money bleeding thing. Like, well, I was going to say like the post office, but not like the post office, because the post office is a service, a necessary service that helps billions of people, not just here in America, but all around the world. So, that's not a for-profit. That's a service. The mail is. So that's different. The TSA is not like the mail. They are necessary. I think the scans are necessary. I just think that there's been no innovation to make those scans easier for people that are flying, because they're not part of the airlines. Of course, the airlines don't really give a shit either. I mean, new planes do come out, but it seems like the legroom in the new planes gets smaller and smaller and smaller every time. But at least they're kind of innovating. The plane companies are, but yeah, it's just weird. It's just really weird that something like that exists, and it's existed for a while. I mean, there have been scanners and bag scanners forever, but there's just not been any kind of march forward to innovate and get some kind of new way of doing things. It's the same thing. It's been the same thing since I've been flying. I mean, when I think I took my first flight down to Florida, my parents could walk with me through security to the terminal area and sit with me until I was getting on the plane. And that's not something that happens anymore, which is probably a good thing, because the last time I went on a plane, oh my God, the amount of people seated in everywhere. Planes are full. And to be honest, because they're not updating anything in those terminals, there's just no room for families to come and sit with people to see them off anymore. I mean, you have to see them off in that ticketing area just before security. I remember doing that in Florida with Mom and Dad, because we were staying there for 2 weeks. Mom and Dad were only there for like 3 or 4 days, 3 days probably, because that's all Dad could stand. And I had to let them go in the Orlando airport, hoping that they would be able to find the flight, find everything, because they don't fly. They have no idea. And Mom's flown with me a couple times. I honestly, these days, I can't rely on her to get it, And Dad, that was the first time I think Dad ever flew commercially. He always flew around with the Army, like C-130s and military transport and that kind of a thing. He never flown commercially. He had he had a near emotional breakdown when we entered the Orlando airport, getting off of the plane, because the Orlando airport is so giant compared to Columbus, or like a Rickenbacker, that's where a lot of military planes do their thing. So here in Ohio. Okay, let us drip. It is still very dark. It's interesting how dark that is. I'm gonna try to give it a little swirl here. It's not a very good swirl. There's a swirl. But yeah, it's just so strange. Well, it's not strange. It's stagnant. There's no competition. And no competition means there's no reason to innovate. And no innovation means stagnation. And we're stuck with things that after 20 years should be different, and that's why car companies constantly innovate. It's why we've seen the growth of electric vehicles. It's why houses get better. It's why there are like this condo. It's a decently sized condo, but there's a lot of room squeezed into this little postage stamp of a footprint that we've got here. Innovation, it's a driven thing, and when there's no drive, when there's no reason to drive to make things better, you get the TSA and you get those antiquated scanners that we have to stand behind. There's no updating policies. There's no changing. I mean, how long did it take for TSA Pre to do the shoe thing, you know? And how long did it take, before they set an age limit for people to take their shoes off? It's weird. It's strange. When you sit down and think about it, we could be doing better, and we choose not to. Things could get better, and it's just a whatever, It's just weird. It really is. It's just weird. But what are you gonna do? It's okay. It's okay. I mean, because we got that global thing, which didn't cost nearly as much as we thought it would for 10 years, and got our passports. We do have pre-SA check on every time we go in and do stuff. So, you don't have to sit there with the scanner, put your hands over your head. You just walk through a metal detector. That's as inaccurate. The amount of people that go through that thing, and it's like you have metal on your shoes. It can see the metal on their shoes, but it can't read a foreign substance that might be explosive on their shoes. And that's just mind-blowing, I can read metal, but I've not developed a way, you have to walk, it has to go through a separate x-ray to see, and you have to be inconvenienced. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that there are just a lot of people being inconvenienced. And whereas, yes, it is an inconvenience, we are going on an airplane that is going to take off and fly through the air. So you've already reached a level of opulence that seems like, such things should be taken care of, You're already flying through the air, So it's, I don't know, it's weird. It's first world, second world. Is there a second world? Problems. Everybody skips the second world. I'm sure the second world is probably pretty good, right? It's either first world or third world. There's no second world. What is considered second world? Second world probably is pretty neat. I don't know. It's either first world or third world, and both can be used as positives and negatives. So, all right. Bewitching Butterscotch. I will say it smells. That's interesting. This smells so much better through the Clever than it did through the Chemex. The Chemex made it incredibly strong, and it smelled very bitter. This smells very butterscotch. I'm actually very impressed by that. It is night and day difference. Night and day difference. That is so weird. That's to somebody that doesn't understand chemistry, to someone that can apply basic physics to things, but someone that doesn't really understand chemistry. The fact that it can sit in this thing and brew, because that's what it does. It just sits in here and it brews, and then it passes through again the bed of coffee. That it can taste not only less bitter, less strong, and strong's a weird word to apply to coffee. It doesn't necessarily mean strength in caffeine. It could be strength in taste or like bitterness or something like that. They can pass through that, sit there and brew. But for this thing, all it does is fill up and pass through. And that's all it does. I mean, this has two stages, brew and pass through. This is just pass through. And for some reason, this Chemex makes such stronger coffee, and it could make something a lot more bitter. And I'm floored. I mean, there is still a bitterness. It's still not the greatest thing in the world that I've ever had when it comes to coffee. But that bitterness has gone from I don't want to drink that to I can drink that. And not only that, but I'm getting the butterscotch now. I wasn't getting that much butterscotch before. It was all bitterness. It was all not great coffee. It was all uneven roasting. It wasn't that great because as we've seen with the other one, the chocolate chili, which we're definitely going to try this next week. with the chocolate chili. With the chocolate chili, the beans were either really dark or medium roasted dark. So the roasting of that batch was a little inconsistent, at least to my eyes. Maybe it's not really, but it feels that way. I would assume it's the same with this, even though we can't really tell because again, it's pre-ground. But the flavor is it's fascinating. And it's not nearly as bitter. There is sweetness. There is butterscotch. And there's coffee. I'm really amazed by this. I'm surprised and amazed, and it's fascinating how you do something for a length of time. Like I've been doing this for nearly 2 years, and this kind of stuff still surprises me because I was just ready for this to be gross and bitter again, maybe worse. But somehow, some way, sitting in the coffee brewing and then passing through rather than just passing through makes it less bitter, makes it less strong, and brings out the butterscotch flavor far more than the Chemex pass-through does. And I am amazed. That is amazing. Wow. Okay, so, I mean, I wasn't happy with it to start with. I'm still not pleased, with the whole process and the fact that this came ground rather than a whole bean. But the taste now, this is not bad. This is drinkable. This is something you can repeat drink, and it's nice. Whereas in the Chemex, no, not even a little bit. It is too bitter, far too bitter, and there's no nice butterscotch twang to it. I'm amazed. That's great. Oh, cool. I hate being negative about things, and I hate not enjoying something that I bought. I want to think that people are doing the best that they can, and a brewing method can change the profile of a coffee. I'd hate to put it through the AeroPress because I think that would make it would make it almost unpalatable how bitter it would be, because that's definitely a concentrated squeeze through the AeroPress. So we'll probably stick with the Clever, and next week maybe we can experience a little bit more chili and chocolate in our chocolate chili howling werewolf spit coffee. I'll reread you the back of the bag, or you could just go back and watch something that I've done. I've been doing this 3 days a week for the past almost 2 years. There's a lot to watch. There's a lot of complaining. There's a lot of therapy that I've gone through that's put me in a decent place. And being able to talk about this stuff has helped a great deal. The Tuesday talk helped a lot. So, and then yesterday was nice. And yeah, then today, this is, what a fascinating discovery. Cool. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I can drink that now. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for watching this week. I really appreciate it. Next week on Tuesday, I'll put the howling through the Clever, and we will see how that tastes. I need to watch some movies tonight. I tried streaming last night. I got through about 3 hours. My butt started to hurt, and then World of Warcraft is still a boring grind fest. In order to get anywhere with any of the things that I want, I would have to sit there for 5, 6, 7 hours a day, every day, again. And then a lot of the things are still very broken. There's a couple of events that are broken, and then getting into the BlackRock Spire raid that's like 10 to 15 players is tedious at best. So you can queue into the maybe about 8-minute wait to queue into the. They revamped and did the time walking, so you can time walk back in old dead mines, which an old Dire Mall. I think both of them, north and south, or north and or west Dire, or whatever. There's 2 Dire Malls, but the dead mines getting through the dead mines. That's a nostalgia, because Cookie's now down at the back of the ship as an extra boss, as opposed to a end boss. Edward Van Cleef is there, not to be confused with Lee Van Cleef. So, I mean, there are a lot of good aspects to it, and you can gear yourself up and level up very quickly. Now, if you want to level some alts, and then the Drakthir, the new dragon characters that you can create, they're not just evokers anymore. They are several classes, which a warrior, rogue, hunter, priest, mage. The model probably prohibits them in being monks, probably. They can't be Death Knights because they were in stasis throughout the entire... Damn. You're thinking of something, and you know what it is, but then the name just disappears from your head. Arthas, the Lich King, Wrath of the Lich King. There it was. I had to work through it, but it's just gone. You know exactly what it is because you've known exactly what it was for decades, but you're like, I do that with the Eurythmics lead singer all the time, and I'm doing it right now with her because I'm thinking too hard about it. And that's terrible because every day I'm singing one of her songs out loud in the basement. Annie Lennox, see, there it went. Poof, gone. And then back again. If you think too hard about something, you should always step back. If nothing comes up, step back and think about it. So sometimes that works. It's better than just standing there and cooking your brain, overthinking it. So even if nothing comes from it. We'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend. Bye.